buyers. A new study may finally bring some clarity to the debate over the safety of vaping. Researchers at New York University's Langone Health exposed a group of mice to e-cigarette smoke and compared them to a control group that was given filtered air. The mice that were exposed to the aerosol smoke showed higher signs of DNA damage in several of their organs. The same pattern was also found in human lung and bladder cells that were exposed to nicotine and a chemical that it gets broken down into. Dr. William Huang is an associate professor of urology at NYU Langone Health. He authored this paper along with members of the school's departments of urology and environmental medicine. Dr. Huang, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start with the basics. What is actually happening when someone uses an e-cigarette?
So when someone vapes or uses an e-cigarette, they're basically using an aerosolized version of nicotine and delivering it into their system the way that they would as opposed to having a cigarette where they burn tobacco to inhale the nicotine.
So you are a urologic oncologist. That's a mouthful. Apologies. Your specialties are prostate, bladder, and kidney. What effects did you measure from e-cigarette smoke in mice?
Right. So the thing in common here that we were looking at was the development of bladder cancer, because bladder cancer is one of the diseases that occurs in people who smoke tobacco cigarettes. And so we were looking at whether or not the changes that occur in tobacco smoking would also occur in the bladders of mice and in human bladder cell lines if they were exposed to nicotine and the aerosolized vapors of e-cigarettes.
And so, you know, DNA damage, when you hear that, that sounds very frightening. What effect does that degradation have on your body?
So what happens is there's constantly defects or damage to DNA that's happening all the time in your body, whether you're exposed to sunlight or whatnot. But carcinogens, like in tobacco smoke, can also cause DNA damage, and it's the body's ability to repair these DNA damages that prevent cancer from occurring. And so what we found is that exposing the mice to e-cigarette caused DNA damage similar to what we would find in people who smoke tobacco cigarettes, but we also found that it impaired the ability for these cells to repair themselves and prevent potentially the development of cancers.
So at the conclusion of the study, it's proposed that e-cigarette smokers are at a higher risk of developing lung cancer, bladder cancer, and heart disease than non-smokers are. But e-cigarettes, at least in theory, are devices that are used to reduce the risk for tobacco smokers. How does the damage by e-cigarette smoke compare to tobacco smoke?
So one thing to keep in mind is that in these studies, we did not compare tobacco smoke to e-cigarette vapor. As you mentioned earlier, this was to filtered air. So again, this was comparing it to just someone breathing filtered air. The general consensus at this point is the feeling that tobacco smoke is still more dangerous than e-cigarette smoking, but I think there's also a conception that perhaps vaping or e-cigarettes are completely harmless. And this definitely raises the possibility that although compared to regular tobacco smoke it may be less harmful, certainly compared to just not smoking at all, this could pose a higher threat to the development of cancers as opposed to someone who doesn't smoke at all.
And that's really the critical point
Correct.
here. All right, Dr. William Huang, thanks so much, doctor, for your insight. Appreciate it.